Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to explore something that's not just a trend, but it might be like a turning point.
Okay.
The future of remote work and all the ripple effects on
Yeah.
everything from our wallets to our cities.
Yeah.
We've got a chapter from the Margin World podcast,
Oh, okay.
and that's going to be kind of our guide today. And, knowing your interest in how this shift is reshaping the world,
Right.
I think you're going to like this a lot. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a topic that is definitely generating a lot of buzz,
Yep.
and for good reason. What's fascinating is that this whole remote work thing,
Right.
it's not just a temporary response to the pandemic. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like it's becoming a new normal.
Yeah.
And I think this deep dive will help us understand why.
Yeah, the source dives into some pretty compelling drivers.
Yeah.
Technology is advancing at warp speed.
Yeah.
Work cultures are shifting, and both employees and employers are like, hey, wait a minute. We kind of like this flexibility thing.
Yeah.
It's like we're all realizing that the old 9-to-5 office-bound model,
Right.
maybe it's not the only way.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, the source even uses this great example. There's a software engineer in Argentina working for a Silicon Valley company.
Wow.
And it really highlights how these geographical boundaries are kind of blurring, right? We're
Yeah.
seeing this globalized
Yeah.
and diverse workforce kind of emerging,
Right.
which has huge implications for both individuals and businesses.
Yeah. I mean, imagine the opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, for someone in, say, I don't know, rural Nebraska,
Right.
to land a job with a cutting-edge tech firm in Tokyo, I mean, that was practically unheard of before.
Yeah.
And now it's becoming increasingly common.
Absolutely. And, this wider talent pool is
Yeah.
a huge plus for companies, but it also presents some unique challenges.
I bet.
The source points out that managing a remote workforce
Yeah.
requires a whole new set of skills and strategies, building trust and communication and team cohesion
Right.
across time zones and cultures.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as it sounds.
So it's not all sunshine and roses then.
Well, it's not without its complexities.
Yeah.
For example, there's been like this huge explosion of investment
Right.
in all these collaboration tools, Slack and Zoom
Yeah.
and Microsoft Teams.
Yeah.
But even with these tools, trying to replicate those spontaneous interactions and
Yeah.
kind of that mentorship that happens organically in an office,
Yeah.
it's a challenge. It's really hard to do that virtually.
Yeah. There's that intangible element of in-person collaboration
Yeah,
that's hard to replace.
it is.
So, yeah, I'm curious, with so many companies downsizing their physical footprint,
Right.
what's happening to all those empty office buildings, especially in major cities?
That's a key point the source brings up. We're seeing like this decline
Yeah.
in demand for that traditional office space,
Right.
especially in big cities like San Francisco and New
Mhm.
York. Companies they're reducing their footprint.
Yeah.
They're opting for more flexible leases
Right.
or even ditching offices altogether.
Wow.
And this has a ripple effect on the entire commercial real estate market.
Yeah, I mean, it's like those iconic city skylines. They might start to look a lot different in the coming years.
I think so, yeah.
And I imagine this shift is impacting more than just office buildings.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about it. Public transportation,
Right.
those lunch spots that relied on the office crowd, even dry cleaners,
Yeah.
they're all feeling it.
Absolutely. That traditional 9 to 5 workday is fading, leading to these more flexible hours.
Right?
And as you said, it's changing the patterns of demand
Yeah.
for a bunch of different services.
Yeah.
This is both an opportunity and a challenge
Right.
for businesses as they adapt.
So it's not just about where we work,
Right.
but when we work,
Right.
that's changing.
Exactly.
But what about the people who can't work remotely?
Yeah.
I mean, aren't they being kind of left behind in all this?
That's a crucial point the source raises.
Yep.
It's called this remote work divide.
Oh,
Some industries like healthcare or
Right.
manufacturing, they can't offer the same level of remote work flexibility.
Yeah.
And this raises some concerns about the potential widening of
Yeah.
economic disparities between, those knowledge-based, remote-friendly roles
Right.
and these essential but in-person jobs.
Yeah, that's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
It seems like this shift to remote work, while bringing a lot of potential benefits,
Right.
also presents some complex challenges that we need to address as a society.
Yeah, I think so. And then there's this whole debate around
Oh, yeah.
fair compensation
Hmm.
in a world where location doesn't dictate
Yeah,
their
yeah.
access to work.
The source touches on that, the issue of location-based pay.
Yes.
If someone lives in a lower-cost area, should they be paid less for the same job as someone in,
Right.
like New York City or San Francisco?
It's tough.
It's a thorny issue and strong arguments on both sides.
It is, absolutely. And the complexities of remote work don't stop there.
I bet.
I mean, we haven't even touched on the psychological and social impacts of this shift,
Right.
the implications for education, how companies are adapting. I mean, there's a lot to unpack.
You're telling me this is just the tip of the iceberg, wouldn't you say? But it's given us a great foundation
Yeah, yeah.
to really explore those deeper implications
Mhm.
of this remote work revolution.
And in the next part, we're going to delve even further. We'll look at the individual and business impacts,
Okay.
how the education system is preparing for this new reality,
Okay.
and what it all means for the future of work as we know it.
I'm intrigued already. So stay tuned, listeners, as we continue our deep dive into the future of remote work.
It's going to be good. Welcome back to our deep dive.
It's amazing to think about how this shift is impacting us,
Yeah,
not just globally, but like in our own personal lives.
yeah.
The source actually goes into some of the economic effects on individual employees,
Right.
and they're fascinating.
Absolutely. One of the biggest is the potential for savings.
Yeah.
I mean, no more commutes, right? No
Yeah.
more expensive work wardrobes or
Right.
those lunches near
Right.
the office.
Yeah.
Studies have shown that remote workers can save like an average of $4,000 a year
Wow.
just on commuting.
That's huge.
That's significant.
That's like getting a raise just by working from home.
It is.
But the source also points out it's not just about saving money,
Right,
but how that money is then spent,
right.
which is kind of creating ripples across industries.
Exactly. We're seeing less demand for public transportation and professional clothing,
Yeah,
while home office furniture, all this tech stuff, that's all exploding.
that's true.
There's a company, Ergonomic Oasis.
Okay.
They make high-end ergonomic office furniture,
Right.
and their sales have like skyrocketed since
Yeah.
the rise of remote work.
That's a great example of how individual choices
Yeah,
are driving these big economic shifts.
absolutely.
These ripples, they extend to businesses as well,
I mean,
right?
for sure.
I mean, companies are seeing impacts, both good and bad.
Yeah. For companies, I think one of the biggest potential benefits is that reduced overhead.
Right, right.
Think about the savings on office space and utilities and all those expenses.
Right.
Some companies are even going fully remote
Wow.
and eliminating those costs completely.
That makes sense. But what are companies doing with the savings?
Yeah.
Are they pocketing it or are they reinvesting it?
A lot of companies are being strategic. The source suggests that some are putting that money into things like employee training, development, or research and development, or they're investing in better remote work tech
Yeah.
to improve collaboration and productivity.
So it's not just about cutting costs.
Right.
It's about using those savings
Right.
to be more competitive,
Exactly.
more adaptable.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
Embracing remote work can make your business model more efficient, more adaptable,
Right.
which then leads to more growth and innovation.
And the adaptability.
Yeah.
It's key in today's world.
Oh, absolutely.
Things are changing so fast.
Yeah.
And it's not just businesses that need to adapt.
Right.
The source mentions how the education system
Yes.
evolving to prepare students for this remote first workforce.
It's essential. We're seeing a much greater emphasis on digital literacy
Right.
with a focus on things like virtual collaboration,
Okay.
time management, and effective communication online. For example, some schools are incorporating virtual collaboration platforms like Slack or Teams
Right.
into their classes.
It's like giving them a head start
It is.
in this new world.
Absolutely.
Those are valuable skills no matter what you end up doing.
Yeah, for sure.
The source mentions a really interesting potential benefit for developing economies.
Yeah.
How does remote work play into that?
So remote work can actually reduce brain drain in developing economies.
Interesting.
Skilled professionals can now work for these global companies while staying in their home countries.
Wow.
They contribute to their local economy, but they also have access to global opportunities.
That's a game changer.
It is.
It challenges that old idea that you have to move to a
Yes.
big city to get ahead.
Totally.
But of course, as with any big shift, there's some downsides.
Yeah.
The source talks about the psychological and social impacts
Yes.
of remote work. They're often overlooked.
We are social creatures. And the lack of face-to-face interaction
Hmm.
can really affect our well-being.
Yeah,
Lots of remote workers struggle with isolation and loneliness
I can see that.
and feeling disconnected.
Yeah.
It's not just about missing the water cooler chats.
Yeah.
It's about losing those spontaneous interactions that can spark creativity
Right, yeah.
and build camaraderie and that sense of belonging.
It's like the social fabric of the workplace is
Yeah.
being stretched thin.
Yeah.
What are companies doing to deal with this?
Yeah.
Are they just leaving remote workers to fend for themselves?
No, fortunately not. Lots of companies are recognizing this,
Oh.
and they're taking steps.
That
We're
is-
seeing more investments in wellness programs,
All right.
virtual team building,
Wow.
and even dedicated roles like head of remote
Oh, well.
to make sure remote workers feel connected and supported.
So it's not just about giving them the technology,
Right.
but creating a culture that supports them.
Exactly. It's not just about keeping employees happy either.
Yeah.
There's a strong business case for this
Right.
because burnout and disengagement
Right.
can lead to less productivity
Right.
and more turnover, which hurts the bottom line.
So it's a win-win to
To-
create an environment that supports both the individual
Absolutely.
and the organization's success.
A new sector is even emerging to meet the needs of remote teams.
Really?
The source mentions businesses that focus on building those meaningful virtual connections.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like the digital equivalent
Yes.
of those team building retreats, but for remote teams. Any examples come to mind?
There's this company called Remote Team Camp.
Okay.
They organize these virtual retreats
Okay.
focusing on team building and collaboration.
Okay.
They do different activities,
Huh?
online escape rooms,
Wow.
virtual cooking classes,
That's cool.
things designed to get people interacting
Yeah.
and build that sense of community.
That's a testament to how creative we can be,
It is.
to adapt to these new ways of working.
For sure. It's like we're in uncharted territory here,
Yeah.
and we're figuring it out as we go.
In many ways, that's true.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that this future of remote work
Yeah.
isn't set in stone, right?
Right.
We are actively shaping it
Yeah.
through our choices, policies, and innovations.
We have the power to influence how this all unfolds.
Yes.
We can create a future of work that benefits everyone.
And that's what makes this so important.
Right.
By understanding the potential,
Yeah.
both the good and the bad,
Yeah.
we can make good decisions.
Absolutely.
We can work toward a future that is both equitable and fulfilling.
It's a conversation that needs to keep happening.
Yes,
There's so much to explore still.
definitely.
In the last part of our deep dive,
Right.
we'll look at the broader implications of this whole shift, the future of work itself,
Right.
and how we can all work together to make this remote work landscape work for everyone.
I'm excited to wrap things up
Yeah.
and explore those big picture ideas. Stay with us as we conclude our deep dive into the future of remote work. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've talked about a lot of the impacts of remote work, from the economic shifts to how our cities are changing, and even the potential psychological effects.
Yeah.
Now, I really want to get into those big picture questions about the future of work itself.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think about, right? The source makes a point that this shift to remote work, it's about way more than just where we're sitting when we do our jobs.
Right.
It's a fundamental shift in how we think about work as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, we're challenging all these old ideas about the 9 to 5 and everyone being in the office.
Yeah. It's like a whole workplace revolution where
Yeah.
we're kind of questioning whether you need to be face-to-face all the time.
Right.
And embracing this flexibility that we couldn't even imagine a few years ago. We're changing what it means to be productive.
Exactly. And this whole rethinking of work, it could be really liberating for people and for companies.
Yeah.
The source talks about how remote work can create a more balanced work experience,
Yeah.
a more equitable one, and just more fulfilling overall. Like imagine, having more time for your family,
Right.
your hobbies, the things you love to do, just because you're not stuck commuting for hours every day.
Yeah. That's a big improvement for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the individual, right?
Yeah.
What about companies? What are the benefits for them? How is this changing how they operate and compete?
Well, for companies, embracing remote work can actually help them build a more diverse and inclusive team.
Okay.
Think about it. You're not just limited to hiring people in your immediate area anymore.
Right.
You can find talent anywhere, bringing in all these fresh perspectives and experiences.
So it's not just about finding the best person for the job,
But night.
expanding the possibilities.
Right. Exactly. It's about breaking down all these old barriers and giving people chances to contribute their skills no matter where they live or their circumstances.
It's exciting to think about all the new ideas and creativity that can come from having such a diverse and spread out workforce.
Yeah, for sure.
But the source also brings up some important questions about how we make sure everyone benefits from this new way of working.
Oh.
What are some of the challenges we need to address?
Well, one of the biggest is making sure that people who work remotely have all the resources they need to do their jobs well.
Right.
This means reliable internet,
Of course.
a good workspace that's comfortable and healthy,
Yeah.
and opportunities to connect with other people. Digital equity is really important here. We can't just assume that everyone has the same access to technology and all that.
It's true. It's easy to get caught up in all the cool things about remote work, but we can't forget about the people who might be left out if they don't have the tools or support they need.
Exactly. And then there's this potential gap that could grow between people who really thrive in a remote setup.
Yeah.
And those who have a harder time with it, maybe feeling isolated or missing the structure of an office.
Yeah.
Not everyone is wired for remote work, and that's okay.
Right.
We have to recognize that people are different
Right.
and provide options that work for different styles and preferences.
It's about making the future of work inclusive so everyone benefits, not just a few.
Yeah.
But with so much changing, it can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
How do we even start to make a remote work world that really works for everyone?
The source leaves us with this thought-provoking question. How can we, both individually and together, shape the future of remote work to create a more balanced, equitable, and fulfilling work experience for everyone?
That's a big one.
It is, and it means we need to have these open discussions, try new things, and be willing to challenge how things have always been done.
We need to be proactive and thoughtful about the policies we put in place, the way we do things, and the technology we use.
Mm.
And all of those decisions have to keep the well-being of every worker in mind.
Exactly. It's a journey, and we're all on it together. As we wrap up our deep dive, I want to encourage you, our listener, to think about your own experiences with remote work and how you can help create a future that's both productive and fulfilling.
That's a great takeaway. This has been a super insightful look into the future of remote work. It's clear that we're on the edge of a huge shift, and the choices we make today will ripple into the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those tough questions. Until next time, thanks for diving deep with us.